What is this called? What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Full Metal Journalists.
Oh, that's cool.
That's the name of it. It's like Full Metal Alchemist, but it's not.
Oh, I see what you did there. I don't know if I'm at 100, though. I feel like I'm at maybe like a 70, 75. What
Then
do you think?
wouldn't be a Full Metal Journalist.
That's a good point. Welcome to our first episode.
And probably the last. Yeah, so I've always wanted to do a new show. And when I presented it to my friend Jamie here, do you want to go by Jamie or do you want to go by Kelvin?
Yeah, Jamie's fine.
Okay, I'm going to go by. So what this is going to be is hopefully a weekly podcast/show where we talk about general gaming news stuff because I've always wanted to do that. I started out this whole YouTube channel thingy wanting to do game reviews, and now I've started doing tips and tricks and stuff. But at the end of the day, I still want to do journalism stuff. So yeah, want to talk about yourself a little bit?
Sure, why not? So this is my dungeon. I basically live down here most of the time. I work from home, so kind of just created my own little universe in here. It's a mixture of video games, board games, anime, you name it. It's my own little world. But yeah, I've been playing video games since I could talk, since I could walk. So this is a natural thing for me to jump into and help my buddy out here.
Yep. And you know me, I've been gaming since I was the wee lad of 4 years old, and I am almost 40. So that's a good 36 years of experience. And don't let anybody lie to you. We both got married. It's possible, dude.
I have proof of that.
Same, yeah. Look at that. Our wives are upstairs chilling. There's also a daughter to my right, but hopefully you won't know she's there outside of this.
Yeah, good luck with that.
It's his, not mine.
It's our daughter.
I got news for y'all.
It is what it is.
So yeah, in the great words of Philly DeFranco, let's jump right into it.
All right, what's our first story?
Well, you should know that since you did all the research, but EA Japan exec criticizes Japanese rating board for allowing Stellar Blade uncensored but banning Dead Space. So Stellar Blade came out as of now yesterday, and it's kind of supposed to be like a near automata with Dark Souls level difficulty from what I can imagine, or from what I'm understanding of it. And when I first read this article's headline, I thought it was about nudity. But it's not. Apparently, Stellar Blade is just really violent. There's aliens and monsters that get gored, gashed, and torn in two. And the execs over at the Dead Space developer studio, which I definitely know the name of off the top of my head. Why don't you go ahead and tell them so they'll know, Jamie?
Is that EA?
Is it EA? Did EA do Dead Space?
EA Japan is what I have wrote.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh, in fact, it says EA at the... This is episode 1. We spent 3 hours setting all these things up.
Yeah, so EA, Electric... I can't even talk here. Electronic Arts Japan.
Yeah, so it's they're kind of pissed that Stellar Blade's allowed to go out uncensored, but Dead Space was not.
Yeah.
So
that's a thing, because like I know Japan, they've been fighting censorship since long before we were even born at this point. Because if you look back at the history, obviously things took place with World War II, so there's definitely been censorship. Not only in Japan, but also Germany as well, like tied to the effects from that war as well. So
yeah.
I feel this is probably just kind of like a side comparison of that. So,
and probably
anyway.
Russia pretty soon. Anyways.
I'm still waiting to become a cosmonaut.
A naked one?
Shout out to Taylor. Anywho, yeah, so that's going on. Kind of crappy. Hope they can figure it out. That's what I'm afraid of, not trying to get political with our first episode, but just trying to avoid stuff like that happening in America. I know there's a lot of talk with TikTok going on and, that being banned. So it's just something to keep an eye out on, just seeing what other countries are doing. So,
which I don't know if we have that on the itinerary, but it's something to just talk about really quick since you mentioned it. The TikTok ban going on, I think Biden actually just signed it into effect. It doesn't officially have to be a ban, but it's gonna be because all they have to do is sell the company, which
they're not gonna do.
Yeah, even though they would make so much money that they could literally probably just buy the United States and then be like, it's legal again. Because politicians come cheap. I don't know if you know this, but yeah, TikTok probably will get nixed soon, which is fine. There's like 400 other platforms for it. In fact, if you're watching this and you're wanting to get into social, what's the word I'm looking for? and if you're wanting to get into the influencer game,
Yeah.
with TikTok going out, there's going to be a big boom coming in for Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and Facebook Reels. So, I mean, now's the best possible time to try to get in on that.
Right.
So, I would recommend it if that's something you're interested in. And if not, just keep consuming, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all doing. We're consuming. So, is that about all you want to say? And also, Stellar Blade, I am going to be streaming it soon. I just got to get through 100 Heroes. So, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and you don't own a PS5 because it is an exclusive, feel free to pop over, check it out. I'm going to also try to do my usual or my new thing where I do the old school tips and trick style stuff. We'll see what I find, though. It's much easier to do with something like 100 Heroes than it is with Stellar Blade. But
And speaking of which, tell us about 100 Heroes. I know you've been playing that quite a bit here lately.
so yeah, I've been streaming and doing a guide on 100 Heroes. First off, thanks for all the new subscribers for that. That actually is very incentivizing for me to keep making that sort of tips and tricks comment. It seems what people want. So I'm going to continue putting out very concise tutorials and guides for different games. As far as how I like 100 Heroes, I like it a lot. I think it's not Game of the Year. I think it's phenomenal, and it's definitely a good return to the Suikoden series, which I know you got me into growing up. We've known each other since high school, by the way. But it's great. I actually just really started cracking into some of the mechanics and learning how the game worked. Because, at the beginning of most games, it's very, straightforward.
Yeah.
In fact, this game has an auto battle feature. But now that I'm getting deeper, I'm finding the auto battle to be less effective. And I'm starting to get into the mechanics. I'm starting to find out characters like Leon, who I really like the design of. I thought he sucked. And then I got to understanding how different things work, which I'm going to make a video on this, so I'm not going to go too deep into it here. But I figured out how to make him work, even though his stats look like he shouldn't. And the different weapon attacks, and then there's all these mini games that are kind of complex. So I really enjoy it. If you like old school JRPGs, turn-based stuff, get it. Or again, I'm streaming it. Watch me do it. A lot of y'all are. I'm getting a lot of views on my stream VODs for that. So again, thanks for that.
Let's keep doing that.
Are you going to play it at all?
Probably not.
That's fair.
It's not that I don't like it or anything. It's just balancing time, with kids and work and everything. So I'm very boring with my gameplay here lately. I've just been sticking to some classics. Like I play Marvel Snap, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. As far as the console games or PC gaming, most of my stuff is just traditional stuff, sticking with Pokemon. I dabble with a lot of old school stuff, so I've been revisiting my Nintendo 64 library, for example. So good times. Not a lot of new stuff. So, yeah. Well, speaking of new stuff, though, we have an awesome trailer that came out a few days ago. Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game. Have you looked at that yet?
I have not. You did mention it was Stardew Valley with The Hobbit?
That's pretty much it. So just imagine Stardew Valley with the hobbits mixed in, kind of like that, planet creation type simulator built in. So you go in and you start with your plot of land, except for I guess it's in the Shire at this point. So
Okay.
it looks really fun. My wife, we were not talking about it quite a bit when the trailer first came out, and it was kind of funny because she had spotted it before I did and brought it to my attention. And
I hadn't even heard of it until you put it on the list.
And they already have the wait list open for Steam and the other gaming platforms, and it's really blowing up on the different wait lists right now. So
you go, I guess, wishlist it if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not. I like my horror games and RPGs, but if you like those sort of farming sim type games,
it gives that cozy chill vibe to it. So
I mean, it's not like Lord of the Rings has ever disappointed us. Insert footage of Golem.
Wait, what's wrong with Golem?
The game?
Oh, okay, that's better. All right.
the game that came out recently.
I thought you mean the mythic character.
No, I mean the meme game from I think it was last year. There was that and the Godzilla game.
That's one of the quickest games I've ever seen go on sale. It was the full $70 or $60 price and shot down to $20 a week later.
It wasn't Golem, or it wasn't Godzilla. It was Kong.
Oh, Kong, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Gollum, by the way. Anywho, so what's up next?
I guess the Fortnite thing's kind of interesting. It's actually something I do like a little bit because you talked about Marble Snap. Sometimes when I lose, people do the Thanos snap.
Yeah,
and it actually does hurt my feelings a little bit because half the time it was pure luck. It was oh cool, this random thing happened on turn 6 that gave you the win. So yeah, Fortnite is adding a setting to allow people to not see aggressive or confrontational emotes, like the I can show you right here, the loser emote, which we're gonna have B-roll footage going anyways, but why not show on the cameras? I have it
Yeah.
pulled up. So yeah, basically, you're gonna be able to turn off the thing that if if emotes hurt your fifis. And you know what? I get it, because you get in there. I don't play Fortnite, but I can tell you what, like getting teabagged in Street Fighter makes me want to fight them in real life. I'm a big boy. I probably still lose, but I'm gonna try.
Takes me back to the Halo days.
Yeah.
What? That's a good question. I wonder what the first game was that teabagging became a thing.
What was the first? When was the first time you got teabagged?
Halo 2 for me. I know that for sure.
That does not have to be a gaming question. Use your imagination.
Yikes.
Blizzard admits WoW is rough for new players and plans to fix that.
Yeah, they know they have a lot of work to do, essentially. I think in the WoW community, my brother and sister-in-laws, they still play religiously, to be honest. They've been, at least for my brother-in-law, he's been playing since day one. I was in the beta back in the day, so if you compare like the early days of then versus now, I can totally see why it's overwhelming. There's just so much going on. It kind of reminds me, I don't know how many people that would watch your channel live through the EverQuest days, but that was my first personal jump into like the MMO RPG world, and I almost left immediately because like I jumped in and it was just so overwhelming trying to figure everything out. And
EverQuest is rough.
yeah, it was pretty rough. Like, but they have their hardcore fans, and I get it. Like once you figure it out, I have friends to this day that still break that out from time to time, and they still love it. But yeah, just like if you're a casual gamer trying to get into it, like good luck. And I think for Blizzard, they're starting to see that with World of Warcraft. But at this point, like this game's been out since what, like 2004?
That's what I was going to ask, is when it came out, because I played it from the beginning for a
Yeah.
long time. I remember getting off work at Pizza Hut after closing at 2 a.m. and going home and playing WoW until like 6 a.m.
Yeah, so that's a lot of lore to catch up on if you're coming, fresh into it. So
And I don't know what the state of the game is. I know that a lot's changed. Like they destroyed entire regions and rebuilt them in different phases and stuff.
yeah.
And
And then they also did the vanilla version where they went back to, I guess they just called it like World of Warcraft Classic.
yeah,
Because people were complaining that there was too much going on.
but it's just, what's funny is they're just re-releasing. It's like re-releasing World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft came out, and then they started doing the expansions.
Exactly.
And it's like literally they're just doing it again.
Pretty much.
I don't know
yeah.
of any other game. Final Fantasy. They keep releasing Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I was going to say Capcom, Squinix,
You know
Square
what?
Enix, they're guilty of that.
You're right. More power to them. Every other company can re-release their old games. Why not World of Warcraft? It's not like Blizzard has anything left.
How many versions of Skyrim do you own?
I don't own any. I've owned
Wow. Okay.
one version of Skyrim.
Okay.
So my thing with Elder Scrolls games is that I play them. I do the Thieves Guild quest.
Yeah.
I do the Assassin's Guild quest, and that takes like 90 hours. And I'm like, I am good. I've never beaten an Elder Scrolls game, but I've played the crap out of like 3 of them.
I can't even count on both hands at this point because like Xbox 360 and then the future versions where they did upgrades on the PC, Nintendo Switch comes to mind. I think you can even play it on your washer and dryer now at this point.
Probably. But now don't ask me how many copies of Final Fantasy 3 I've purchased.
Oh yeah,
Because
I
it's a
can see that.
lot, plus emulation. But anyways, yeah, WoW is I guess I hope they fixed it so newcomers. I don't really understand people getting into World of Warcraft. I mean, I don't play any MMOs all right now, but Final Fantasy 14 is superior in like every way, both in ease of getting into, storyline, the dungeon progression, everything about Final Fantasy 14 is just better than World of Warcraft. So even the classes, and there's so many classes, so I don't know.
I'm just waiting for Phantasy Star Online to make a return.
It
I used to play that
did.
back in the day on Sega Dreamcast.
What are you talking about? It did make a return like a year ago.
I'm gonna pretend that didn't exist because I tried it and
There was Phantasy Star Online 2, and then they put out Phantasy Star Online 2
it's not the same.
Neo something or other.
Yeah, it just
I
doesn't
didn't like
feel
it
the
much.
same.
And that's the thing, is I had the same problem with Phantasy Star Online 2 that you were talking about with EverQuest. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as you log into PSO, you're just inundated with menus and items. And I mean, in the first 3 hours, you're so overloaded. If you don't spend a full day researching how the game works,
Yeah.
you're not going to know what to do, and it's going to be really frustrating, which sucks because it's very pretty. If
Right.
you like Phantasy Star Online, it's a turn-based RPG, but if you like Phantasy Star Online, I actually do strongly recommend Honkai Star Rail,
Okay.
which you can play on next-gen consoles as well as mobile. It's turn-based. It's a gacha game, but it's not the kind of gacha game where like if you don't pull the newest character, you're just screwed.
Got it.
It's they give you free characters and you can go through and not spend. It's tempting. God, it's tempting. They put out the newest like big boobed waifu, and you're like, yep, $100 please. But it's actually really fun and it's very pretty. And the first boss fight you get into on that, it's not even the fight itself isn't even that exciting. It's the music.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know what their music budget is, but it's a lot.
Nice. I mean, going back, playing all the old school JRPGs, like I've always been big into music. I know you have as well. We've gone to various concerts over the year, the Final Fantasy concerts, Legend of Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big selling point for me. There's been numerous times where I know, yes, I could go and listen to the soundtrack, but that's actually drawn me back into playing the game again, just because I want to be able to hear the music again, just like the first time.
Yeah, that's a big thing with me with Final Fantasy VI. Actually, I went back and I play um a modded version of Final Fantasy VI now called Brave New World
Oh, nice.
because it cleans up the script, it cleans up the mechanics, it makes the game more fun to play, even though it's already my favorite game. But it also keeps all the music exactly like it was because
Right.
it's the original OST. The pixel remaster and stuff. I know the opera scene from the pixel remaster of 6 was really good, but other than that, like none of the music really clicks right for me because just the original soundtrack is flawless.
Right.
So
I could see that.
imagine that. I'm so far behind on anime. God,
Yeah.
even the series I'm keeping up with, I'm behind on. But that's a conversation for another day. Maybe we could do an anime that we are not watching podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching Spy Family from time to time, so hence my sticker there. So.
We did start Spy Family.
Oh, you did? Nice.
Yeah, we're like 5 or 6 episodes. It's really good, actually.
It's amazing.
It's just
And they just had the movie come out here in America. So
yeah. Did it go to
and
theaters?
see that now? Yep, it's in theaters.
So right now it's in theaters.
You can do subbed or dubbed.
Interesting. I need to find out a playtime. That might be something fun to do. I've been looking for like we need a good date night next week, so maybe we'll do that.
There you go. Cool.
The next one you have is just a Twitter post. This announcement is brought to you by Great Indie Games. I think the other one is more important from Game Informer, where it's talking about, you said it's potential upcoming games that are going to be announced at the Xbox Digital Showcase.
Yes. So let's pull that up. It's not loading for me. Oh, there we go.
So while he's pulling that up, Vampire Survivors apparently is going to Xbox, which is apparently...
Yeah, that's kind of surprising. I thought that's starting to become Skyrim at this point, where it's just popping up on everything. I know Switch has it, and
$5 Skyrim though.
$5. That's a good point. Yeah,
it's not a full price game every time.
And to be fair, I love Vampire Survivors. When it
Mhm.
first came out, like that completely encompassed my life for a while. I actually was getting annoyed when they were doing updates because it's rare for me to 100% like achievements on anything,
Mhm.
and that was one of them I did. But then like a week later, new achievements. I do those a week later, new achievements.
Yeah, because
And it gets to the point where I just had to quit looking at it. I was getting frustrated.
it's still technically early access, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
I
Yeah,
believe
I'll
it's
have to look
still,
and see.
so that would be why. And apparently there's a new Contra game coming out
Yes.
that's going to be talked about a bit at this.
That one I'm excited for, just the retro gamer in me. The original Contra, I have a lot of fond memories playing that with my brothers over the years. And yeah, so this one looks to be kind of similar to the old school route. I don't know. Like, I felt like we've been burned quite a bit with Contra, because if you think back to the PlayStation 1 days, I think that's where it started going south for Contra.
I don't think there's been a good Contra since Super Contra.
Yeah, that one was good. I like that one.
That
But
was
yeah.
SNES, so
SNES.
the best one. Says 2 middle-aged men.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, we didn't have YouTube channels to go and look up where to collect all 100. Do you know how hard it was to get all the heroes in Suikoden 1, 2, and 5? Okay?
I probably still have that strategy guide.
5 wasn't bad. 5 was post-internet era. But holy crap, playing Suikoden 1 blind and trying to get the good... I don't replay games, you know this. So getting all the characters in the first run for Suikoden 1 and 2 was so much pain. Because there was GameFAQs. GameFAQs was rough in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Castlevania Legacy of Darkness player discovers new Konami code after 25 years.
This one warmed my cold dead heart. Just the fact that people are still finding the Konami code hanging out in these older games is amazing. Yeah, 25-year-old game,
So,
and just found like the other day.
oh, it is the Konami code. It's just multiple inputs.
Yep.
So, by inputting this is GameCube, right?
Nintendo 64.
Nintendo 64, right. Nintendo 64. So it had instead of a second stick, it had the weird middle stick, and then do you have a controller?
64? I do.
Yeah.
Keep
Bring
talking.
that over here for a second.
Keep talking.
Okay, so the code is the classic Konami code, but it's got multiple inputs. It's C up, 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 up. So yeah. So this is this. See here, this is my left hand. Okay. So it's C up, 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 down, 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 down. Yeah. Left, 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 right, 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 left, left, right, right, L, R, and then Z, whatever the hell a Z is.
That's the button on the back, like the button.
Oh, and then Z twice. And the original
very complicated in comparison to the original code.
It's the same code. It's just got multiple inputs.
Up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start.
Select start was for 2-player. Just start for 1-player.
Contra 1.
That was for Contra 1 you do select start because select would take it down to player 2, and then start would start the game.
Gotcha.
What the hell does this code do?
That's a good question.
Oh, it unlocks all 4 characters.
Yes.
That's too bad that game was balls.
Yeah, it was okay. I played through it back in the day. I don't know if I would ever revisit that one.
I'm not big on 3D Castlevania games.
And so,
platformers in general.
yeah, some of the other codes that was showcased in the same introduction of it will allow you to get like 99 jewels and just like be able to max level your power-ups, your weapons and stuff too, so it's kind of cool. But yeah,
that was back when games had codes. Now you don't have to remember a code, you just have to pay $4.99.
Yeah, exactly. Wii mod.
All right, so we talked about this one earlier today on our way to Micro Center to buy all the crap to do this podcast thingy. Escape from Tarkov devs attempt to put out fire caused by $250 pay-to-win edition by giving everyone access to an exclusive game mode, but only for 6 months.
Ouch. That's all I can say is ouch.
So I know you don't know much about Escape from Tarkov, but it's basically like an ultra-realistic kind of almost Fortnite type thing, but it's got some roguelike. It's basically, it's not even roguelike, it's just like rogue. I don't know how to put it, but from what I understand, you carry items between matches. So if you kill somebody and loot them and get their stuff, that is now your stuff. It's almost like old school PvP. Like, I can't even think of a PvP. I know you see it a lot in like isekai anime, where like you kill somebody and get to loot their corpse and take their stuff, but Diablo 2 did it that way.
Oh, okay.
If you killed people in Diablo 2, they would drop all their loot on the ground. You could loot them like a monster.
Right.
So I guess it's like first-person shooter Diablo 2, but PvP only. But yeah, so they've added in some stuff that, again, with me not knowing a whole lot about Tarkov, is hard for me to explain. But at the end of the day, we're getting into corporate greed stuff, I guess, because from what I was reading, about a little bit ago, they released a $150 version of the game that promised all future DLC with no more charge. And now, not only is this version coming out that is not included in that 150, but they've also delisted the 150 version.
Yeah, it's pretty sketchy.
So
I don't know what they were thinking there.
And it says the offline PvE is a feature and a game mode and isn't DLC. Players aren't buying that definition, and 6 months access doesn't make it better. To make matters worse, it's also accused of attempting to address pay-to-win concerns by offering even more advantage for pay for. And what I got into with that was there's like inventory stuff. Tarkov is also very much inventory management, because you have to store your items before a match, or if you die, you lose them. So you don't want to take all your stuff with you. And now there will be pay-to-win stuff where some players will have more storage because they bought this big fancy version. And that gives them an advantage.
And of course, everyone gets FOMO.
Everyone gets FOMO.
They want it.
And this goes into like an overall problem too with games in general with DLC and whatnot. I'm on the side of DLC for the most part, depending on what it is. I'm okay with like costume DLCs, BGM DLCs. like most Shin Megami Tensei games at this point, when you there's a collector's edition and then there's DLC where you can get like costumes that are from the cast of Persona 4 and Persona 5, and you get the OSTs. In fact, Metaphor Reinfantasio is coming out soon, but it's all cosmetic and
Right.
it's all PVE. When you get into that PvP stuff and it's not cosmetic, it's giving you like a clear advantage. Things just become unfun.
Yeah.
I experienced that a lot with gacha games.
Yeah, that's why I try to stay away from them. Oh boy, like that's just a struggle we have at this point, being gamers. Unfortunately, like a lot of our favorites, like gaming companies, are starting to head in that direction, whether we like it or not. I mean, I still love Square Enix because of all the history and the lore behind, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, but seeing some of the stuff they release on mobile too just disappoints me because they're definitely starting to head in that direction too. And I mean, look at Konami. I know we just talked about them a second ago lovingly, but they pretty much exist in name at this point.
Well, so they just put out the new Silent Hill, and it was bad. It was
Mm,
not bad, and
I
it was
mean, I like
free.
that, but yeah, I that's more or less developed by a third party company though, so not like native Konami.
But that's fine because you know what? At least people are able to use their IPs, and they're starting to poke that hornet's nest a little bit with coming back in. They've got like 3 more Silent Hill games announced,
Got it. Okay.
and they got all this like they got like an ARG thing either coming out or already. I haven't heard about it, so I don't think it's more. But they had a whole. I don't know if you watched it, but a while back they had like a Silent Hill, almost like a Nintendo Direct, but it was like a Silent Hill Direct. I don't know what
Oh
else it
yeah,
was called.
yeah,
And they had like 6 or 7 things
that
on
is
it.
true.
There's the
Yeah,
Silent Hill 2 remake coming out. So I think Konami's trying to get back into the video game mold, but I don't know how they're gonna do at this point.
I'm cautiously optimistic, but yeah, we'll
Cautiously
see.
optimistic. Um, but at the end of the day, when it comes to DLC, inflation is high. Things cost currently about 3 times more now, maybe 4 times more now than they did in the 80s
Yeah,
and 90s. But game prices have stayed the same, if not fallen. Because for Super Nintendo, for instance, I think it was Earthbound that was like $80, or maybe it was Final Fantasy VI that was $80.
yeah.
They
Some of those
both of them.
RPGs were expensive back then, also because of memory restraints of the original cartridge. So they would have to actually engineer like extra parts. So like if you look at anything that included a battery, like the first battery games, all the way going back to the original Nintendo, those typically would cost like a little bit more, not a lot more, but as time went on, you have like your what was it, Mode 7, I think they called it for
Hmm.
Super Nintendo, and yeah, so made them a little bit more expensive. I found an old Toys R Us ad the other day digging through the garage because I collect weird stuff. And yeah, the prices of some of the games there was wild, and a lot of it was just due to the architecture of the motherboard that was a part of the game cartridge itself. So it's pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, and so with all that said, game prices have basically remained at a medium of about
Yeah,
$60. They've gone up to 70 for some of the newer consoles, but I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know how you can how you would just sell a game for. I mean, I guess Baldur's Gate 3 did it, but also like I don't know how they did it. I would love to look into the books of Baldur's Gate 3 and find out how they sold that game for $60. No DLC, no added tie-ins, no extra costs. If you bought the game, you get the game, you played the game, you own the game. But for $60 with
right.
like what was it? Like a 6-year development cycle, hundreds of employees. I would love to see it, and I would love to like hand it to pretty much every other developer and like do this.
Yeah.
Whatever they did, hire their bookkeeper, hire their I don't know, hire somebody. Which actually segues us into the next part,
Okay.
the NDAs.
Oh boy.
Hire people. So I'll start that one off with the gaming industry have been going through kind of a rough time recently. There's been a lot of layoffs. In fact, the company that does Grand Theft Auto, which you know the name of off the top of your head,
Oh, crap. Hold on. Keep talking.
isn't it? It's
Wow. How did I forget that?
I don't know. I keep wanting to, but like the only word I can think of right now is the word EA, which is not correct.
No, it isn't.
Um. Anyways, GTA recently did a huge layoff of like 550 people.
That would be Rockstar Games,
Of
and
course, it's Rockstar
yeah, I
Games.
know. I don't know how we blanked on that. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm even looking at an icon right now that looks like the Rockstar Games logo to us in a sense. So I don't know why I couldn't. Anyways, um, they recently laid off like 520 or 530 people and canceled a bunch of projects, even though GTA 6 is about to come out.
Yeah.
GTA 6 is I don't even think I'm exaggerating when I'm saying GTA 6. Can you look up real quick how much money GTA 5 has made?
Oh boy.
I think GTA 6 is going to make like billions, like actual with a B. So explain to me why Rockstar is laying people off and canceling projects when they're about to release what is, despite, I would love for people to boycott the game over this, but they're not gonna, and that's fine. You know, I'm not here to be an activist of over gaming, but like, how are they going to lay off that many people when they're about to make billions? And you got it.
Are you ready?
Hit me.
All right. So this is Google's generative answer. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but it says as of April 2024, GTA 5, which came out in September of 2013, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes to
11
show
years old.
how long this has been out. 8.5 billion worldwide.
8.5 billion. You couldn't just put them on a paid vacation?
Well,
And you're screwed now. And that's what this particular topic is about. So they just they're is oh God, I don't have the article open here. Where did it go? Whatever, the NDA stuff. They're basically trying to repeal the ability to have NDAs, which is non-disclosure agreements.
NDAs, they've been intrusive for years now. This is not a new thing to just the gaming industry. I'm actually under an NDA right now, for that matter, which I'm not going to go into. But
Because you'll get sued. Anyways, go on.
yeah, so in a nutshell, I get why they exist, but I think like how they've evolved over time, that's where they became very intrusive and extremely complicated. And depending on who the company was that you agreed to the NDA upon, it's really up to them like how they want to initiate it. So if they feel that, oh, you're like doing some sort of ill will towards them, whether it's speaking ill or working for what they deem to be a competitor, it's really up to them if they want to go after you for it or not. And in the video game industry, like pretty much everybody's a competitor. So that's what kind of sucks about the NDA and the video game world. Same for like the movie industry too, which thank goodness it's not as common. I have heard horror stories of that too, but nowhere near as bad as the video game industry.
Which it also means you can't start your own company, right? So if
You,
they want to go be an indie developer, they can't even do that.
there definitely is some that are that bad. Absolutely. Some will say you just have to stay away from the same genres. Like you can go do whatever, but if you're making a farm simulating game, you can't go join another company that's making a farm simulating game. But there are some that is just as bad as like you can't do anything game related. So
Right.
go enjoy another industry for a year or two or however long it is. So.
Yeah. And of course that really hurts people like if you look on YouTube, there's a creator called Thor. Or he is Thor. He's a Pirate Games. He's making a game right now called Heartbound. He's really big into game development stuff, and he tries to motivate people to go make games.
Right.
He, for instance, wouldn't be able to do that if he had been under an NDA with Blizzard or any other company that he had debbed for. So
Yeah.
it's a big deal, and it's going to create better competition in games because now, just as an example, if SquareSoft lays off 100 employees that develop RPGs, for instance. Right now, those RPG developers might get put under an NDA and not be able to go work on other RPGs.
Right.
So Squaresoft lost nothing. Squaresoft, good God, what is it, 2000? Square Enix will lose nothing. However, now if that NDA thing goes through and those aren't allowed anymore, they could go work for Atlas. And now Atlas has 100 really good RPG developers, and suddenly Square Enix is like, we're not making the good games anymore. So it's a big deal, and it could mean pay increases because now the Square Enix employee could choose to go work for Atlas if Atlas is giving them more money. So it's a really big deal, and we might actually see it really help the developers out. Because remember, at the end of the day, all this DLC and stuff, it's not even the developers doing it; it is the CEOs. It is the big wigs saying, "Make us more money." We made $1 billion last year, so that means we got to make $1.2 billion this year. It's that ever increasing infinite money threshold that is going to hit a ceiling if they don't stop.
Gotta love it.
We're going to run out of money.
Yay, capitalism.
Capitalism.
I want to jump back to one. I'm pretty much a Nintendo fanboy. That's self-admitted. Like anybody who knows me knows that. So Nintendo Switch 2 rumors, they're running rampant at this point. So what's your thoughts on that? How much do you think it's going to be? When do you think it's going to release?
So I haven't heard anything about it in a little bit. I think that I would not be shocked if they release it this year.
Yeah.
I actually was expecting it to be December. So it's so weird because the Switch came out during the PS3, and we are
It's been out for a
halfway
minute.
through the PS5 life cycle. That's the Switch is an old man on a cane doing his best, like working on the farm. He's pushing it. He's running the tractor. But man, he gets home after work and he just lays down and sleeps and wishes he was dead. That's that's the Switch right now, man. I, I played Persona 5 on it. It chugged. I played Tears of the Kingdom on it. Everything chugs. Even Unicorn Overlord had some chugs on it. I cannot fathom the Switch 2 not coming out soon. And from what I read, it's going to be as powerful as the PS4.
I mean, that's a Nintendo in a nutshell. That's how they keep prices down. So they never really go for that latest gen technology like Microsoft and Sony do. So
Yeah, and I don't need my games to look photorealistic, so I'm okay with those sort of, pastel sprite work, all that good stuff. Unicorn Overlord was great. And of course, I told you 100 Heroes is fantastic. There was Diofield Chronicles. Was that a Switch game? I don't remember if Diofield Chronicles was a Switch game,
I'm not
but
sure.
Tears of the Kingdom definitely was, and boy did it chug. Let me tell you,
Still loved it though.
it was great.
The just the possibility of a new Switch, like with updated hardware, is exciting too. Because if you think of the enhancements that we've had in technology, even like setting aside just like video game development in general, one of the rumors that I was reading is instead of having the slide in Joy Cons, they were looking at doing like a magnetic attachment. I saw that. But the just stuff like that I think is really interesting, and then having like a truly like 4K experience with Nintendo games. Honestly though, like once again, me being like old school, I would be happy if they just brought back like the GameCube library. Like give me some Mario Kart Double Dash.
Yeah.
That's still my favorite one, at the end of the day. And I know everyone's like screaming for the next Metroid Prime. They've already announced that, but that definitely makes me think it's coming soon, because they typically will announce a big game like that. And what we'll see, this has happened with Zelda a couple times too, where the system will launch with a big game title that's a launch title, but they will still do a version of that for like whatever the previous console was. So
Well, and at this
that kind of
point,
gives me a feeling that it's going to happen like either end of this year or early next year.
it could be the other way around too, because we just got Tears of the Kingdom, about midway through last year, early last year. Was it February? I think. Um, and so if the Switch 2 did come out in December, um, they could make an enhanced version of Tears of the Kingdom.
That would be interesting.
It'd be a console. I mean, that's what they did with Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
It was the Wii U. Was no Skyward Sword? Was Skyward Sword Wii U? It was Wii.
It was Wii, yeah.
Yeah. So they
And then they did the HD version for Switch.
yeah, it's still bad. Still by far one of the worst Zelda games. I mean, it's like, for me, Skyward Sword is like back there with
Didn't like
the
it, huh?
CDI. Like they're bad.
I don't think it's that bad.
They're bad.
It's not that bad. He said that, not me. Don't write your hate mail to him. But yeah, as far as costs go, once again, since Nintendo's not typically big on releasing the latest greatest, I'd probably expect it to be close to around like 300 again.
I'm thinking 450.
I could see. I don't know about that. I would think it would probably top out maybe 399, but the thing is, we know they like to release updated versions. I mean, we're living through that with the PlayStation 5 right now, because you had the OG model, there's a Slim, now they're talking about a Pro. So I could see maybe this one coming out around 3, and then maybe 2 years down the road they'll do a quote unquote Pro version of their own
Well,
and have that be $100 more.
and now that you've brought that up, so it's different with Nintendo since they're always behind the curve, anyways. But from what I've seen, apparently game developers are being like, the PS5 Pro isn't necessary. We can't even. From what I understand, they haven't even finished tapping the potential of the PS4 yet. And now the PS5's out, and of course they're nowhere near tapping the potential of that yet. And now they're talking about a PS5 Pro, and developers are like, I guess, sure. Will it still play the old stuff? Okay, cool. We're just going to release it PS5, and it'll work on the PS5 Pro.
That's interesting too, because if you think about like how much of this is marketing at the end of the day,
100%.
Yeah.
The only reason I own a PS5 is because of the Final Fantasy franchise. That's it. If it wasn't for Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I wouldn't own a PS5 because it's a lot of money.
It just reminds me of the generation with Super Nintendo and Genesis. Genesis had blast processing, which if you've seen any like recent documentaries about
Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
exactly. Blast processing was strictly a marketing thing. Like it was nothing at the end of the day. So I do wonder sometimes how much a lot of this is tied to that. And yes, I get it because you have new technology on the PC side coming out on a yearly basis. But I mean, I'm rocking like a 3080 right now, and I'm still able to like max out most of the games that I play. Like Doom Eternal looked fantastic, and that's probably the strongest game that I've played here lately, and had no issues with it. So
I have a 4070 Ti Super.
okay. How much did you pay for it though?
Yes.
Moving on.
My entire bonus went away.
I was trying to get you out of that in case your wife watches this.
Oh, she knows. She was there when my nephew built it. It was a lot of money and
Oh,
a
gotcha.
lot of time. And God, it's so nice though, man. It's so nice. Well, like being able to play games and watch videos in 4K, and my computer not becoming an oven and cooking itself.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
nice.
part of my complaint. I had a 3060 for a while, and I thought about going back to it because the 3080 is like so big. Like if you think about it from a car perspective, it looks like one of those big like old Buicks from the 80s in comparison to like the 3060 was like a small Geo Metro.
The 4070 Ti Super that I have is about 25% longer than the entire casing I had for my old computer. It literally wouldn't have fit if you put it
Yeah,
in diagonally.
they're just so massive.
They're so big.
Oy. Anywho,
Um,
what else we got?
I think that was. Oh yeah, that was it. It's Marvel Snap time. What's your card?
Yeah, so this week, White Widow came out. I have not unlocked it yet. Like, I'm getting frustrated. Like, I know we talked about the gotcha games. This kind of trails that territory a little bit because, yes, you can natively unlock it, but the amount of work that they put you through is just hair-pullingly frustrating
You have to play
sometimes.
constantly.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's possible to fully unlock all the new cards just by playing.
because some of it is luck because you have to wait for it to show up in the shop, and sometimes that takes a while too.
Yeah, she's available in the shop right now, and I think I have 5,500 of the collector's tokens
Yeah,
thingies. I need 500 more collector's tokens, which I could get even if I just get it Sunday by paying $10. I
yeah.
don't really mind doing that, but it becomes a question of is White Widow worth it?
So it depends on your deck type. So obviously, White Widow and Black Widow they go well together. I've seen people combine White Widow with Grandmaster, which that's fun because if you're doing like a negative deck, you play your White Widow next turn Grandmaster, which it will knock your White Widow to another lane. So now your opponent has to deal with two -4 cards on two different spots. So
Well,
that's pretty powerful.
so the other thing about that too is the Widow's Bite or whatever that she puts on the other side,
Yeah,
its effect goes away if
you can max out.
you fill up the space.
Yep,
But now there's cards that punish the opponent for doing that, like Mojo, I think it's called.
I have to look into that one. But
There's a 2 drop
yes, you're right.
card.
Actually,
It's
yes.
2/2. When both sides of a land are full, he gets +6, I think.
Yeah, it bumps up his power level.
Yeah, so he goes from a 2 power to an 8 power. So you put Widows, you play White Widow there, and you play Mojo, and now they have to figure out if because now they have a 0 power card even if they fill out the space. It's not like they're at -4. They either have to give up that land entirely, or they will have to contend with the 8 power Mojo,
Yeah,
which is too low for Shang Li to kill, but still like an obscenely high power level for a 2 drop card.
right.
So I think those two have a lot of synergy together.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then like combating against it, since if you can fill up the land with it, if you're fighting a deck that's making multiple versions of it, like Ultron comes to mind because they can fill up, a board fairly fast
I want
if you have enough
Ultron really
energy.
bad. Uh,
Ultron's so much fun. Like I have a fun Ultron deck, and then because like the cards that he drops on the board for you, you can combine that with other cards that will boost their abilities too, which is a lot of fun. So
I want Ultron, and I want that other guy you were telling me about that like he gives control of your 0 power or less cards to your opponent.
yes,
Because I really like Debris as well. So But yeah, that's we'll probably do Marvel Snap segments at the end of all the episodes because we both really like Marvel Snap. We both play it. In fact, we're both pulling it up on our tablets right now.
Annihilus? I think I always forget how to pronounce his name, but Annihilus or something to that effect. That's who you're talking
Anilus,
about.
yeah. I really
I never
want
read
that.
him in the comic books, so I'm not sure where he comes from. It looks kind of Spider-Man-ish or Doctor Strange. I don't know. But
Uh-oh.
yeah, so that's a good one. And he plays a very heavy hand in my negative deck too, because just pulling that up real fast, I can talk through that. Which White Widow would go fantastic with, because if you have Selene, Selene is a one cost card, 2 power. Doesn't sound exciting from that perspective, but on reveal, um, it will take a look at your lowest power in each opponent's hand and give it -3 power. So if you're rocking like a goblin type deck where you're just trying to toss as many negative cards across the fence, yeah, it just fits perfect in there. White Widow does.
I've screwed up. I can't open the game on my tablet. Apparently, I haven't done that before,
That's fine.
and now it wants me to do the tutorial.
Yeah.
So,
But
not want to
yeah,
do that.
so I think probably the deck that makes most sense, if I were to make a deck right now for White Widow, I would definitely go with negative, but also try to fill up my opponent's hand. So Master Mold, I don't think Master Mold gets the credit he deserves, because part of the skill level for me is frustrating the person. Like, they could have better cards than you, but if you can frustrate them, you're going to throw them off their game. So if you're like just tossing cards in their hand, then that opens up the opportunity of like keeping their deck like full of cards too, and you can even throw a Darkhawk in there too. So which, if you're unfamiliar with Darkhawk, that's +2 power for each card in your opponent's deck. So if you're, just essentially, I'm trying to think of the phrase for it. If you have their hand full and they just can't like empty their hand, they're not going to be able to draw more cards, or their amount of cards that they're drawing is going to be so much less that by the time you're at turn 6, or if you can drop a magic and get turn 7, Darkhawk's going to be like very powerful.
Okay.
So,
Well,
anywho,
I think that's about all the time we have for this first episode.
yep.
And I would actually like to throw it out to anybody watching or listening to this. Would you like a Marvel Snap exclusive show? Because right now we're talking about tagging it on at the end of this, but if there's enough interest, we can just make Marvel Snap episodes. We could do exhibition matches, cards of the day. I mean, those are so easy. We could probably put out like a card of the day every day until we run out of cards. Maybe not every day, but yeah,
Always happy to talk decks.
indeed, we can touch our tips of our decks together later.
You never cross streams.
But anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, of course, you're on YouTube. Likes, comments, subscriptions, all that good stuff helps out a bunch. Follow the podcast if we get this up on some sort of podcast channel. And yeah, any final words?
That's pretty much all I got. Thank you for your time, everybody.
All right. Deuces, dummies.